Hello, you're through to Books Boys. You've got Dean on the line. Who's calling?
My name's Philip Davidson.
Phil, it's fantastic that you should call in because I have just last week read your book, Birth of the Tiptons.
Wonderful.
Fantastic stuff. We'll talk
Oh,
about. I don't want to give too many spoilers, but we'll talk about a few bits and pieces from the book. But it's a very interesting concept, and I'm reading most of it, and I'm thinking, "Gosh, this is like not what I was expecting." It's very interesting, and then at the end. It's even more crazy, not what I was expecting. So, how did you put these ideas together?
gosh, it evolved over several years, really. I mean, there's actually three novels already written. Um, I'm sort of three quarters of the way through the second one to sort of update it.
Hmm.
Um, so it's I came to the end of the last one and thought of this whole concept of who these aliens were. Actually, I mean, there was kind of, by book two, there was aliens in it. I couldn't think who these aliens were actually. So it remained a bit of a mystery actually. Um, and then I suddenly sort of thought of something that happened about 30 years ago, which I won't go into now, actually. But it was just a fantastic story. And it will come out later, this whole story. It's just an amazing story, actually. Um, yes, well, I don't want to give too much away, actually, but
Yeah, but you gave away the one thing that
people
I
read
wasn't
the book
sure, which
to
was
get
the
to the end
alien
of that,
angle.
and I'll maybe reveal a bit more, once they've done that. Actually, yeah.
Yeah. So one thing I do normally ask people is, you're working on a sequel, and no, you've already mentioned, and it's in the back page of the book. You've got five parts potentially planned. We've got information here on part two, courtship, part three, 2020, part four, we're going way back in time, and a potential fifth part. So this is going to be a big saga. This is not a once and done.
It's a bit of a mammoth sort of thing, actually.
Yeah.
And yesterday, I finally got the start of a website up and running,
Okay, good.
which is tiptons.tv, and we've got connected to um, X and Instagram, and so everybody will be able to connect on there as well, actually.
Awesome. And what I'll do as well is I'm just making a note of that, tiptons.tv. I'll put a link as well in the show notes so that people can click on that. That's fantastic. So it's very interesting because you mentioned the thing that I wasn't going to spoil, which was the alien angle, which kind of comes in and becomes very more, prevalent at the end of the book. Um, but the basic premise, I suppose, we have this chap who hurts himself in the park, walking along, he twists his ankle or something like that, and meets this chap who comes and says, "Well, I'm going to start talking to you about the Tiptons and about George the Third and all this kind of stuff." And at first he thinks, "Oh, so this is just a crazy person in the park, I'll hopefully get an ambulance for my injury here and get away from him." And no, it turns out that the chap has no intention of letting him get away and says, "I'm the father of George the Third." So already I'm thinking, okay, well, this is not going to be a conventional story. This is already taken a twist I was not expecting.
It's full of twists, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. One of my favorite parts is obviously then we see the two girls carrying the trunk around and they're thinking, okay, there's a trust on this, so it's a 200-year trust. We're not allowed to open the trunk until that time has passed. And these girls are, of course, Georgina and Charlotte. And I couldn't connect who they were. Maybe I wasn't thinking critically. I was kind of like, that's a bit of a random, unrelated bit. And then, of course, it makes sense later when it all comes together. But there's a fantastic part then where they say, look, to the two boys, Charles and George, oh, you should also name your children Charles and George. And they say, well, what if we have girls? And then I realize, okay, so there we go. That's why we've got Charlotte and Georgina, which is fantastic. So what was the process like? I mean, did you know where this was going from the beginning, or were you kind of surprising
Not
yourself by some of
really.
it?
No, not really. It was a bit sort of meandering and random, actually. So it's been sort of rewritten a couple of times already, actually, and this is the third pass now, actually. So yeah, I just thought I'd let it wander to where it was meant to go, actually, and
Yeah.
it kept on evolving into sort of more and more strange ways, really. Yeah.
So it's interesting because I've been watching, actually just last week, by pure coincidence, I was working my way through the old Blackadder episodes, and I just happened to be getting through Blackadder the Third, where of course we have the Prince Regent, whilst Mad King George is locked up, and it was just a coincidence that it tied in perfectly with also reading the book about the same time period with the Regency. So that was interesting to me. Did you always want to write about this time period? Was that the start point?
No, actually, I mean, how it started really was a film script. You're not going to believe this really, and I don't know if I want to reveal it either, but anyway, I will. If you readers or whoever you, it started out as a film script actually about the Industrial Revolution, and it evolved and it evolved and it evolved. But there were some really good ideas in that film script that I didn't really want to get ripped off really. So I thought, well, instead of pitching it and probably, it getting ripped off by film producers, somewhere in Hollywood or wherever, I'll put it in a book, because it's actually quite a good idea. George III was kind of never in it at the beginning.
Right.
He didn't evolve into it until the second run, actually.
Oh, right. Okay. So there was an entire kind of draft almost without him.
I mean, originally the boys, just had some sort of duke actually, as their father actually. Well, I don't want to reveal too much actually. Yeah, I'm letting too much out of the bag actually.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So it's been a meandering process that sort of just came together in stages really. So, but towards the end of book 3, it really gets pretty wild actually. Yeah.
Okay. See, I would have said it had gotten wild already by the end of book 1, so
Well,
I'm
it
very
gets wilder
interested
and
in.
wilder, I think, yeah.
Okay, very interested in book. So when are we expecting the others to come out? You said you're kind of just
Well,
finishing off book
well, I'm
2.
hoping to get the second one out before Christmas anyway. Yeah.
Okay, so this year hopefully. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So I suppose the main crux of things is, as you mentioned, the two boys, George and Charles, and of course they are the sons of George III, but they don't know it, and that's a very crucial part of the whole book. Is they don't know who they are, and that's part of the trust, right? You're not allowed to embarrass the monarchy, and you're not allowed to find out who your parents are, basically.
Right.
Um,
Yes.
which is interesting. But I do like that we have, one of them, George, having this kind of connection with his dad and being able to somehow communicate with him via, is it like a gemstone? What exactly are they using to communicate?
You'll find out more about this
Okay,
gem.
so we'll
It's
we'll
a
find out more.
gemstone actually. Yes. It's a gemstone that a lot of people actually know about, but they don't know about it actually.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yes, it's very magical sort of gemstone. Yeah.
Well, they're able to communicate, which is great. I do like the dynamic between the two brothers. I don't want to give, too many sort of plot points away, but I do like that we eventually see George standing up to Charles in one particular moment after kind of being trodden on a little bit, I suppose. And it's a shame, but then it's good to see him kind of eventually stand up for himself at one point. And I love his little son. I love that his son is a child but talks like an adult.
Yes, everybody seems to like that. Yeah.
And he's telling his dad like what to do, like a 5-year-old is advising him, on what to do. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
Cool. So
well,
who's your favorite character, Phil?
well, I don't know really. I mean, George is a bit of an idiot in lots of ways,
Yeah.
but he can't really help it. I mean, that's just the way he is, really.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. I don't particularly have a favourite. Um, Zakomonsky is actually kind of a very intriguing character as it comes along, actually. He's got
Okay.
a terrible history, actually, this guy, you know. You know, he's probably it gets more and more mysterious, actually, you know, because he doesn't really know where he comes from either, actually.
Hmm.
Uh, so yeah, I mean, I think he's the most mysterious person out of the whole lot, actually.
Okay. And we don't know
But
too much about him yet, really. So yeah.
Georgina sort of comes on fits and bounds, actually, in book two, actually. Um,
That's something I'm really excited about, is finding out more about the girl's story in book
yes,
two.
yeah.
Yeah.
The girls are always more interesting in a way, so.
And of course exploring the alien aspects a little bit more, but even in book one, just contained as it is, I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the story about George III and everything, and his son George especially. I thought it was fantastic. Tell us about the music picture shows, because that's a very important thing to George.
Well, yes. I mean, I kind of, you know, as I said, I, I saw this, I saw this thing as a film script, actually, and you know, this sort of flip show through the 1700s, actually, was done in a lot more detail, actually, in the film script, actually. And that was a bit of an integral part, you know. It was done quite coordinated to music and stuff, and
Mm.
that that that's that was something that I wanted to do in the film script. Actually, was you know, a sort of highly coordinated thing to music in that showed the whole of a century evolving. Actually, um, it doesn't really come across much in the way it had to be compressed a lot, actually, you know.
Mm.
So,
Mm.
you know, it just got sort of too boring, actually, for I think, you know. So that you know, one of the main features of the film script actually got junked, really, you know, but it kind of still made it into the book, actually, you know.
Mm.
Um, so yes, that maybe at some point, you know, if somebody asked me to sort of do that, you know, it might reappear, you know. But
Yeah, could still be
we'll
done.
see. Yeah.
And I like as well that you give the annex at the back, where we look more in depth into the picture show that he put on about British history and everything. Because that was one of the things, it's quite fantastic. George has invented essentially this filmmaking idea, these moving picture shows with music and everything, and he wants to put these on, but no one, he's got to find a theater to do it, and he's, as you say, a bit of an idiot, so he's not maybe always taking the best approaches. But it's fantastic that he's developed this thing that he wants to do. So I really support him. Like, the whole time I'm rooting for him, and I'm kind of like, no, I want to see you put on some big productions of these music picture shows. And then obviously having the annex at the back that looks into it is great. But yeah, some very good stuff, and there's a lot of funny moments, surrounding that. And when he's trying to get the theater, and he locks the people in the room to show them his show, but he goes off about divine empires and various tangents, and they think, oh goodness, we're kidnapped in a room with a loony. Yeah, it's very, very good stuff there. Well, there's a
I
question
think
we asked. Oh, go
I
ahead.
think part two is a lot more comical, actually.
All right, okay.
So it is quite funny, part two, actually.
Good. There's a fair bit of comedy here, so I'm looking forward to part two then, definitely. So let me ask you something that we like to ask to every author that comes on. And that question is, if there's one book that already exists that you wish you'd been the person to write, what would that be?
Oh my God. You know, I got a horrible confession, really. I'm not really much of a reader, actually.
Ah.
No. My old man actually was quite a famous author. He always drove him up a bloody wall, actually. I was not much of a reader, you know. So I don't know if I can answer that
No.
question, really. Yeah. I don't know the complexities of books, really. You know, I'm a total novice at this whole thing, really. I probably will get more into things now that I am an author, actually.
Yeah, it's interesting that you're writing books but not reading them.
Um, No, well, I've never quite had the patience of. I did when I was sort of much younger, actually. You know, there was a few authors I did quite like. I always quite like Graham Greene and people like that. You know, so I've kind of you know, I've got more into sort of films, I suppose. You know, I don't know. I'm sorry, I can't
No
really sort
answer.
of give an
That's all
answer on.
right. That's all right. Well, as I said, we've already given the website, so I'll put that in the show notes. Is there anything else that you'd like to plug or tell people where they can get the book or any social media you want to plug, anything
Um,
like that?
well, as I said, I uh, I will be available on Twitter and stuff. It will be available on Amazon and you know everything that they do, I guess. You know, ebook and paperback and I
Cool.
think hardback as well, actually.
Oh,
And
nice.
it will also be available in Waterstones and places like that, actually.
Okay, so
So
we can go buy it in the shop as well.
I like also, you know, if people could, you know, apart from trying to order it and give me a review on Amazon, if they could also order it at their public library, you know, so it's in there as well, you know.
Ah, yes, that's a good idea. I've never had an author say that before, but yeah, that makes sense. Get it in the libraries as well. Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
I'd love it to be in the libraries. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Fantastic. Well, Philip, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for calling in. I love the book. Can't wait for the sequel and apparently the next four after that. So,
okay, well, that's very kind of you, and thank you very much.
no problem.
Okay,
Take care. Bye-bye.
well, yes, okay, thanks for having me on.
No problem. Thanks. Bye.